Hey guys, MaliciousCompliance here, and today I decided to go back to r/MaliciousCompliance because it's such a just a fun little story sputtery. Ow, my knuckle. Today, well, I almost hit 4 knuckles. I only hit like 3, so I got 3 stories plus a bonus one, I guess. I'll start off with the short one, and we'll work our way up to the big boys. I altered my uniform to comply with the dress code in my employee handbook. Back when I, now 37-year-old female, was younger, with a lot of attitude and a loudmouth, I worked for a nice Italian restaurant in my hometown. I didn't have a single issue with management until 7 months into my employment when a male manager joined the team. He was a bit of a misogynist. Of course, not a surprise. He would make backhanded comments about women, and he only had issues with the female staff. He wrote me up for some ridiculous reasons. One being opening the door lock too hard when it was a heavy steel door that you had to put some muscle into to open. And he fired another lady who was pregnant for asking to be put in a section closest to the kitchen. She filed a lawsuit and won too. Nice. One day I walked into work and he pulled me into the office immediately and presented me with a write-up slip. It was because I was not wearing a belt. The dress code stated if pants have belt loops, a belt must be worn. Okay. My uniform that day didn't comply with the dress code. That's perfectly fine. The issue was that I hadn't worn a belt in 7 months, while he and the other managers never mentioned it. In my opinion, the appropriate thing to say would have been, "Hey, I see you haven't been wearing a belt, and we haven't been enforcing it. Dress code says you must wear a belt if you have belt loops. I'll give you X amount of days to purchase one before I start enforcing." I just got a straight write-up. So I went home and cut off all the belt loops off all of my work pants. The next day, immediately upon walking in, he asked where my belt was. I pointed to my pants and said, "Where are my belt loops?" The employee handbook stated if there are belt loops, but I no longer had belt loops. Let's just say it didn't make him like me anymore, but I felt like a hero standing up to him in such a petty manner. I just love that. It's like, yes, I forgot about. Yes, you don't have to do a write-up immediately because of it. You just need to do a, yes, go and get a belt. I love if pants have belt loops, you must wear a belt. That's perfect. Perfect workaround, in my opinion. Tell me I shouldn't buy delicate binoculars without insurance? Fine, I won't buy them. I'm gonna just go. Many years ago, I had some special hospitality tickets for F1 at Silverstone. I think it was the year Hamilton won his first season. I decided to get some binoculars to take with me, so I go to the local Jessops and talk to a very nice sales lady who seemed genuinely excited at the idea of going to F1 at Silverstone. She suggests some binoculars, and I get my wallet out. At which point, sales guy comes bounding over, pushes sales lady out of the way, like, "Get out of here, woman! I know what I'm doing." Grabs the binoculars I was going to buy from her, and asks, "What am I thinking of using them for?" Barely lets me answer as he grabs some that me and sales lady had already discounted because they were twice as much, and suggests there'd be a much better option. Money! Mildly irritated at this point, I was enjoying chatting to sales lady. I list some of the reasons that she told me they weren't a good fit. Sales guy rolls his eyes, says she's just a trainee, and the expensive ones are really the ones I want. Eventually, it takes quite a stern no to stop him trying to upsell me. He's all about that money, 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 money. At this point, I just really want to walk out of the shop, but I suffer from the occasionally debilitating condition of being English. And that kind of embarrassment is too much to take. Instead, I'll buy them and go home fantasizing about all the cool things I should have said. So card in hand, I'm just about to pay. And he asks whether I want insurance. No, just that, thanks. You really should have insurance. They are very delicate. It doesn't take much to knock a lens out of alignment. No. It's fine. Just the binoculars, please. You probably shouldn't buy them without the insurance. Finally given the way out, I nod and agree. And he runs out the back to get the paperwork for the insurance. He comes back and asks me for my name for the insurance. Oh no, sorry, I was agreeing with you that I shouldn't buy them. Not if they're that delicate. I'm quite clumsy, so I definitely break them. He tries to backtrack on some of the ones that sales lady had suggested, saying that they would actually be perfect for me. I reminded him he said they weren't very good. Then I thanked him for helping me see that I didn't really need to spend all of that money on binoculars, and walked out. Bye! Sales guy is like, money. He's just all the time, give me money. Break the law? Sure, big boss. Sign here, please. Long time stalker, first time poster. I'm only doing this now because it finally came to fruition last week. I used to work as a spare parts estimator for a fairly niche industry. My job was essentially to work out what parts of our main product the customer wanted, find out how much it would cost us to make, add a little markup, and send them a quote. My boss was pretty strict on traceability, so everything needed to be recorded, including what a certain markup had been applied to a particular product. Normal value of these quotes is somewhere between £200 and a few £100,000. Very rarely do we get any orders for anything more than that. Once or twice a decade in my experience. Requests for quotation landed on my desk when I was working from home during COVID. And it was a biggie. Just looking at the list of parts the customer wanted, this was going to be an absolute killer. Over £1 million pounds all by itself. £1 million. I was told by the sales guy that if this one went well, there was another to follow of an even bigger size, ultimately looking at 10 million over the next 4 years. So I set to work. Normally I can do 5 or 6 of these quotes in a day, but this one quote took me 6 weeks to put together. I was in constant contact with 20 plus vendors, getting specification, technical details, prices, and lead times for over 400 items. Finally, my masterpiece was complete. It's all together. Then came the snag. The one that broke Camel's back. Sales guy then says that because of the country this customer is in, they need to have 4 or more quotes in from different customers in order to get it cleared by their government, some anti-corruption policy that had been instituted. We were the OEM of the product, and there's nowhere else on the planet they could get these parts from, so we'd have to work through third parties to get it done, and he knew just the guy. In comes a one-man band with a dodgy looking entry at company's house to save the day. Sales guy and him go way back, so he was going to be the preferential supplier. I was asked to do the normal quote to him, then to bump up the prices by 30% and send that to 3 other companies who had been asking about it, so they would absolutely not get the contract with the end user. I argued the point, saying that the whole purpose of the anti-corruption policy is to prevent situations exactly like this. But I was overruled. The COO of the company now tells me to just do it over a phone call, at which point I request that in writing before I go ahead to do it. Fast forward 2 years and there's still no order being placed. Then I find out through a different sales guy that the one-man band has been put on a blacklist by this country's government over this project. And the other 3 companies have been turned down, and the end user is asking other companies to come in and take our product out and replace it with their own. A huge investigation is called by senior management My quote is ripped to pieces and examined in microscopic detail, and the question gets asked, why did you give different prices to these other three when you knew it was all to do with anti-corruption? We should fire you. That's millions of pounds of order. You've lost us. Out comes the email from my little black book, and on the desk it goes. Everyone suddenly gets very quiet, and the COO starts packing his desk in a box the next week. And the moral of the story is, if someone tells you to do something borderline illegal, make sure to get it in writing. The COO is, he's just out of here. And then they go edits. I don't like to read the edits unless it's adding more to the story that's interesting. Can't remove the charge? Well, I'll just have to use it then. In the early 2000s, when I first moved out on my own, I rented from a complex that charged you for assigned parking. It was an upcharge of $25 a month. If you didn't get assigned parking, you would have to fight for a space on the street. My apartment was in the back of the complex, and I was getting over a recent knee and ankle injury, so I opted for paid parking that was relatively close to my front door. My car was a junker, 3 years older than I am, but it ran semi-okay and the heater worked. As a newly minted adult, I was happy to have it. About 3 months into my lease, my car went to the great scrap heap in the sky. I had gotten used to the local transit system and discovered a nearby store that would drop off groceries for me. This was long before Walmart and other stores started doing it, so it was cheaper than figuring a month's supplies on the bus. So I opted not to replace the car and utilise the bus pass my work reimbursed me for. I went to my leasing office and told them I no longer needed the space, and would you please remove the extra charge from my bill. The manager at the desk was new and had never been asked that before. She promised to look into it and let me know. I was naive and figured it would be gone come the next month. Nope. It was still there. I paid all but the parking space and called up the complex. Same girl. She says she was awaiting word from higher ups and offered me a credit for the charge as a one-time courtesy. I reminded her that I no longer owned a car. I hadn't just changed my mind. I told her that the space had been empty for close to a month now, and I won't be utilizing it. She said she understood loud and clear and would get it sorted by next month. Three days before rent was due, she finally got back to me. Apparently it was in my lease and couldn't be removed without breaking the lease and signing a new one. Even if I didn't move out, the lease breaking and initiation fees would be charged to me, and my rent would go up to the new current market value. This would be over $1,000, so not an option for someone freshly on their own. I kept a parking space on the lease. 3 weeks later, I was reviewing my lease to get the phone number for maintenance and noticed the clause for the parking space. Essentially, I could park a motorcycle, scooter such as a Vespa, car, truck, SUV, or trailer in the space. The gears were turning. For me to be in compliance, I had to have wheels on anything parked in my space. So I went to the local version of Craigslist and found a wheeled container similar to a shipping container. It wasn't cheap, but it was worth every cent. The complex offered storage sheds and an upcharge too. Being fresh out of high school, I didn't have much to store. My neighbour did though. I threw a lock on the unit and offered it to my neighbour for half the cost of a shed, $35 a month. He was able to move his stuff out of his storage unit where he was paying over $100 a month, and the container was available 24/7, 365. He was happy for the arrangement and paid several months in advance. The complex put several tow stickers for out of compliance on the trailer, but I called the tow company and faxed them a copy of the lease where it says trailers are allowed. The container was registered with the county as a utility trailer, so there's nothing they could do. They tried to fine me for improper parking, but again, I had proof I was within my rights. They even offered to remove the charge for parking on my lease if I would relocate the container. With what my neighbour was paying, I could cover my water bill every month, so I declined. I stayed for 18 months, and sold the trailer to my neighbour when I moved out. He had to rent a car to relocate to his assigned space, but he said it was worth the couple hundred he paid. He ended up saving over $1,000 a year renting from me. Other neighbours even started bringing in their own containers too, even if it meant, say, getting a second space. Sheds were being vacated at such a large volume, the complex tried to give them away at 6 months free. Few took them up on it. The complex amended the new leases to exclude trailers, but could do nothing about those that already had them in the spot. Instead of moving out and giving notice, renters would reassign their lease to new people so they could be grandfathered into the trailer clause. Yes! I drove by the facility 2 years or so after I moved out, going to a friend's for Thanksgiving. The complex had been sold to a new owner and changed their name. But wouldn't you know, there were still about a dozen wheeled shipping containers parked in the lot. The ultimate wave of just like, I'm doing this because the thing said trailers, so everyone joins the wave and just goes, just absolutely dumps on the company. And even after they try to change the lease, people just transfer the lease to other people, and it's just like, yeah, we'll keep this trader rolling. The ultimate FU to the housing company. And on that glorious note, links will be in the description to my main channel and the second channel for you guys to go check out. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bells so you know as soon as it comes out. A ding, a ding. I'm the Mad Scientist. Mad Scientist out.